Hello, 1 2 1 2.
Ready to move when you are. Want to move?
Take it off,
Yeah.
take it off. Let's move. Hand out, go hand out. by proxy.
Don't touch that. Just leave it like it is. I want to take a picture of the plate. I used to line up with you. Yeah, you can have mine. I don't care. Okay. No. What is it?
The news journal was asking her questions and what school she's in, what her name is.
Did she say it clear?
I made sure she said.
Oh, that's wonderful.
All right, you got it?
Of October, Governor.
Ops 2, CB.
Okay, next thing to do is take a look, get on that.
Jeff, I got mine.
I didn't want to help her.
Or in the car.
Just sit there.
No one's going up here. Oh, God.
See Cassie get on in the white shirt? Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's not good. No one's taking our picture. No one's not even taking his photos out.
Here we go.
I thought we were
Guys, slide down here. Slide over there. Stand up.
How are you guys? How are you?
Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Okay, Wayne. Guys, what we're doing is we're going to reposition the clock. See if it's allowed.
Then watch
where we're going? Yeah.
You want to shoot from this side? I think you like it down. Squeeze in somewhere next to the guy with the tank.
Don't go too far.
Cut it, Carol, cut it.
Deck is getting low. Give me a chance. You're rolling.
in those pots. Did you stuff those pots?
Sorry about this. The pots are full. They're good Delaware crabs. Eat them tonight.
Are they legal?
Come on. Don't gotta go back. Hey, let's see this.
What about John Sasso coming back to the Dukakis campaign?
Thinking of crabs?
No, John. What do you think about? What do you think about John Sasso coming back to Dukakis' campaign?
Get it going. Keep it up and you'll get him away from that pesky press corps. This way.
Delaware crabs.
Great fun.
What a wonderful turnout. Who's doing the honors?
Mike is doing.
Mike is doing it. I'm going to have to read this. I didn't get a chance to read it. Careful of Mike's son. Let's everybody sit down. All right. Please be seated. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I apologize for the shirt. I don't think Bill Roth and Pete duPont knew as much about crabbing as I thought they did when I took them out there. Look at the way they're dressed for starters. At least the vice president knows how to dress for all these things. Well, you've seen the crabs, and we left about 3/4 of them behind because of our lovely river out here, and we're delighted with them. They're good eating, and that's a present from the state of Delaware to the Vice President of the United States. Good Delaware blue claw crabs. Needless to say, we are deeply honored to have the Vice President in Delaware today, and I might say also in the very lovely, historic, and I think the prettiest colonial town in the United States of America, Newcastle. George Bush has been a good and loyal friend of this state, so it's not surprising that so many of his friends and supporters are here today. Somebody told me there was going to be 1,000 people here today. It looks like 1,000 times 1,000 to look at this crowd. There are some candidates out here, and I was going to ask these people to stand, but because everybody's standing, that's not going to work. But hopefully we can pick them out of the audience, because I think you should meet all the people who are running at least statewide in our state. But we're going to start with somebody who runs the county of Newcastle, and I know Rita is here someplace, but Rita Justice has provided unequal leadership in Newcastle County And I think you all know she's seeking a second term as our county executive. Rita, where are you? Wave. She's right over here, folks, in this corner. Rita? Now, this next person, Mr. Vice President, is important, and I want you to listen carefully. It's Jimmy Croft, and he's running for Congress. And just for your benefit, Mr. Vice President, I think I should point out that he has not always necessarily shared your affection for Joe Paterno, who did such a great job of nominating you in New Orleans. Jim was an All-American lineman for Bear Bryant at Alabama. And while I'm not really sure of this, he may have contributed to Penn State's agony of defeat that Coach Paterno spoke so eloquently about in New Orleans. Jimmy Croft, running for Congress, is right here, folks, right here. There's a person here who is not running, but I want to introduce her anyhow and make a special note of a recent accomplishment. And I'm not sure, again, where she is, but our very able state treasurer is Jan Ruznicki, and I don't know if you know it, but she was selected by her other state treasurers as the outstanding state treasurer in this country. And Janet, would you please wave? Where are you? Please. I would next like to introduce Ruth Matruder. And Ruth Matruder is running for insurance commissioner. I'm going to make a prediction right now. She is going to be the surprise candidate of the year in her race for insurance commissioner. She's already doing a great job. Ruth, I see you over there. And finally, I would like to introduce Dale Wolf, who is running for lieutenant governor with me, and I appreciate the Castle Wolf signs out there. I think Dale Wolf is the most experienced and capable candidate to walk onto the political stage in Delaware in many years. There's a couple pretty good guys behind me, so I say that with a little bit of trepidation, but I believe that Dale Wolf is extraordinary. Dale Wolf is running for lieutenant governor. And let me just say, Mr. Vice President, on behalf of all these candidates, we are delighted to be on the ticket with you. It is fitting that George Bush is in Delaware today after a day on the polluted waters of the Boston Harbor, because here he can see what happens. He can see what happens when governors and the people they represent work together to clean up the environment. This is no back bay of Boston. Today, many of the scores and species of fish and wildlife that depend on the Delaware estuary are flourishing, and others which pollution had once threatened are making a comeback. And we are well on our way to restoring this river to full health. That has been no small undertaking. The complex of ports along the Delaware River have long rivaled Boston Harbor as a center of American commerce. In fact, this river has withstood the assault of shipping, industry, and a constantly growing population for centuries. Back in 1944, a freshly painted Red Cross ship, all white with red crosses, sailed up the Delaware River. In less than a week, the hull was so badly discolored, brown, blue, pink, and every other color of the rainbow, that it no longer was recognizable as a Red Cross ship, and it had to be repainted before it could sail. Well, with the help of leaders like Pete duPont and Bill Roth, we have made tremendous progress in restoring this estuary, and today the prognosis is excellent. As we all know, Governor duPont spent his first term restoring integrity to Delaware's economy. He spent his second term cutting taxes and creating new jobs for Delawareans, and in the process built one of the best records of any governor in the nation. But never once did Governor duPont consider putting the environment on the back burner or sacrificing it to solve the state's problems. When I called Pete to ask him if he could be here today, he was on vacation in Maine, but he didn't hesitate to come home for this important event. Pete, we thank you for joining us, and ladies and gentlemen, I give you the best governor Delaware ever had, Pete duPont.
You're really wound up today, aren't you? Thank you, Mike. I'll tell you, that Mike Castle can pull a crab pot better than anybody I've ever seen. He's not a bad governor either. And he gives a wonderful introduction And I'm grateful for that, and it's a pleasure to be here in wonderful sunny Newcastle with Vice President George Bush and Bill Roth and Mike Castle. I'd like to welcome George Bush to the first state of the United States of America, and as all of us know, those other states are pretty lucky to have joined our country. We were first to ratify the Constitution. We were first to begin cutting taxes for our families. We were first to put together a string of balanced budgets. We were first to improve education. We were first in putting together innovative programs to get welfare mothers off the rolls and back into paying jobs. And as George Bush just learned this afternoon, we're first in cleaning up the environment and protecting our rivers and our streams and our beaches, and we're going to be first to put George Bush and Dan Quayle over the top on Election Day in November. I was watching my television the other evening, and I saw Mike Dukakis. I saw Mike Dukakis accuse George Bush of being a card-carrying member of the Reagan administration. And I said to myself, you know, with a card like that, he ought to hold it high and with pride, because that administration has driven inflation down, and taxes down, and employment up, and respect for America abroad up, and being a card-carrying member of the Reagan-Bush administration is a real plus. So George Bush, as he told us in New Orleans 2 weeks ago, has a mission. And his mission is to build upon the foundation of 8 years of Ronald Reagan and George Bush, to bring conservative principles that you and I share into the White House, to bring a belief in the traditional American family, which you and I believe in, into the White House, to bring the principles that have led America to the greatest economic expansion since 1776 into the White House. And we cannot do that if a Democrat sits in the Oval Office. So while George has a mission, you and I have a job. And it's a job that only you and I can do. We have a job to draw a clear distinction between George Bush and Mike Dukakis. George Bush supports the Strategic Defense Initiative to protect us against missiles, and Michael Dukakis does not. George Bush supports the effort to drive the communists out of Central America, and Michael Dukakis does not. George Bush proposes putting a constitutional lid on government spending, and Michael Dukakis does not. George Bush supports voluntary prayer in our schools, and Michael Dukakis does not. George Bush supports asking us to lead our children in the schools every morning in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, and Michael Dukakis does not. And one thing we know is that George Bush will not raise our taxes, and Michael Dukakis absolutely will. So if on Election Day here in Delaware, we elect the Bush-Quayle ticket, and Bill Roth to help in the Senate, and Mike Castle to continue his job, his wonderful job as governor, and Dale Wolf to help him as lieutenant governor, and Jimmy Kraft to go represent us in the Congress, we'll have a team that'll make America better in the 90s than even it has been in the 1980s. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dave. Good job, sir. Well, as befits Delaware Senior Senator, Bill Roth's environmental credentials are impeccable. His presence in Washington has given Delaware the means and the clout to get things done along this river and, in fact, along our entire coastline. Bill has been an outstanding voice in protecting our environment from pollution. Of course, the senator's influence and interests have embraced the entire national environmental movement, and Delaware Senator truly has made things better for everyone in this country. I'm very pleased to introduce our outstanding senior senator, Senator Bill Roth.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us today at this wonderful old-fashioned rally. What an outstanding show of Delaware hospitality. In fact, I can think of no better way to welcome the next President of the United States, George Bush. And what a perfect town for this event. Perfect because it's steeped in American history, a history of hard work, perseverance, independence. Just a few blocks from here, the ship Welcome landed in 1682 with William Penn and a group of travelers dedicated to a dream, the dream of a land tolerant and free. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we live that dream. We live it because it has been boldly preserved through revolution and war. In fact, in the center of this town, the arsenal built in anticipation of the War of 1812, a building which has housed everything from soldiers and ammunition to students and school books. But please remember that history is not only found on the pages of a textbook or in the showcase of a museum. And revolutions don't always mean gunfire and warfare. On the contrary, George Bush and I have been watching history being made since our freshman year in Congress, a year not quite as far back as the Welcome landing. In the past 8 years, we've made history again, as together with our colleagues and the American people, we work to bring our economy back from the brink of disaster in the 70s to the prosperity and growth we enjoy today, from recession to revolution. And come November, we will work together again. As the principal opponent in the Senate to increasing taxes on hard-working Americans, I will be proud to join hands with President Bush to fight tax increases and to build on our great economic comeback, to create more and better jobs, to provide homes for our young families, educations for our youth, and technology to build tomorrow. But today, we stand in this beautiful setting to emphasize another common interest. Quite simply, George and I share a history of environmental concern. Today, we can imagine how beautiful this scene must have been when Penn landed over 300 years ago here, a land still wild, uncharted, though no longer the untamed wilderness of 1682, the U.S. retains a vast natural wealth. And I know that George George, I have long admired you because you believe, as I do, that our best years lie ahead. That in the words of Thomas Wolfe, the discovery of America is before us. The true fulfillment of our spirit, of our people, of our mighty and mortal land is yet to come. Thank you, and God bless you.
Well, as I was sitting there listening to what Bill said, I looked out in the audience and I saw another candidate I would like to mention who I had not seen earlier, and that's our candidate for County Council President Phil Cloutier, who's over here. Phil, if you want to wave, he's right over here, folks, and I wish you could see all these people. They're up a little higher. Well, this week we tried to figure out exactly how many times a candidate for the presidency has visited Delaware during the campaign. And by the way, this information is a lot harder to come by than you might think. But we were able to ascertain that the number hasn't been terribly large over the last 20 or 30 years. And it may have something to do with electoral votes, if I had to guess. But it should come as no surprise to anyone here that George Bush didn't stop to count the electoral votes before deciding whether to come to Delaware. He counted his friends and supporters here, and the decision was an easy one to make. I've had the good fortune to work closely with the Vice President in my capacity as chairman of the Republican Governors Association this year, and I have never met a man of greater honor and integrity. You know, this campaign has finally begun to focus on what really matters, the records of the candidates. By that measure, George Bush is going to be a great president. His record of public service is extraordinary, but he also knows what it is like to hold a job outside of government. He ran one of the most sensitive defense agencies in the nation, the Central Intelligence Agency, and restored pride and professionalism there. In the United Nations, he spoke for all of us on the world stage. He has, over a long and distinguished career, gathered around him some of the most capable and talented people in this nation. And no president can succeed without strong and able men and women beside him or her shaping decisions. But the President of the United States is more than simply a chief executive, more than a commander-in-chief. A good president embodies all that is good about the American character. He understands the dreams and aspirations that have set this nation apart for hundreds of years. Our values, courage, integrity, and a strong sense of commitment are embodied in the best presidents. By that measure, George Bush will be one of the best. You know, those of us in public life often talk about the importance of being able to make tough decisions. It is important, and George Bush has made them and will make them as president. But those tough decisions require something more. They require compassion and a sense of human decency. And it is precisely those qualities that set George Bush apart. I am proud to call him a friend, and I am especially proud to introduce the Vice President of the United States and the next President of the United States, George Bush. Go get him.
Thank you, Mike. A marvelous reception. What a fantastic turnout. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a great day. What a great day in Newcastle. I'll tell you, this is one of the greatest rallies I have ever seen, and you bring joy to my heart. And if I needed you all, which I do, it might have happened anyway out there on that boat, the Wisso, with Bob and Cassie, a great joy. And as I heard them talk about how this estuary is coming back, and what a job the people with interest in the environment here have done right here off this dock, it brought great joy to my heart. I congratulate all of you. And for those that are fishing out here to get food for the American people, I wish you could have been with us and seen their great spirit. It was wonderful. I want, of course, to thank Mike Castle and my colleague, Bill Roth. He and I elected to the Congress on the same day in November in 1966. Of course, our esteemed friend, your great ex-governor, Pete DuPont. And say how pleased I am to be with all of them. With Bill Roth on board there, and Mike too, I'm glad the Wisso, that boat, didn't go down. Would have set tax cutting back 20 years. I've got to admire a #2 man that makes it all the way to the top. We try harder. It's nice seeing a guy named Mike can make a good governor, too. I don't know if your opponent, Governor, is as gloomy about the economic outlook as mine is, but when I hear those liberals complaining about the longest peacetime recovery in history, I think of what I just hauled out of the Delaware, out of the river here, blue crabs. Now, here's my view. Don't just give Mike Castle another term as governor of this great state. Give him a Republican teammate in Dover, and that's Dale Wolf. We got to have him as lieutenant governor. And let me tell you something. One party has controlled the House of Representatives for far too long, 52 out of the last 56 years. And if you got a guy here that's played football for Bear Bryant, that tells you something about toughness. And I want to ask Jim Kraft to come up so you can see him and see the man that I want to be in the United States Congress as the next representative from the state of Delaware. Come on, Jim, get up here. Come over here.
You can sit in your seat.
We need him in that Congress. We need him there. Congress spends every dime and tells us how to appropriate every dime. That's their power. And we need to get control of the United States Congress and their spending habits. And we need to get the American people, since the Congress can't do it, to give the president what 43 governors have, and let the president have a shot at it. Give the president the line item veto, and let him have a chance. Now, back to the beauty of this area, back to the beauty of this place. Pete, Mike, and Bill Roth have shown tremendous concern for the quality of life here. And he believes, as I do, Governor does, that economic growth and environmental protection are not only compatible, you can do both. In the long run, they are essential to each other. And Mike's Environmental Legacy program has put together a comprehensive blueprint for the state's environmental future. And that's just the right name for the program, because the environment is a legacy, a gift from God that we hold in trust for generations to come. And too often we have abused the trust. Pollution of the Delaware River and Bay goes back to colonial days. 20 years ago, you've heard the litany here, the estuary was dead, but its life signs were weak and getting weaker, and you know that. And the people of this state aren't just close geographically to Delaware, they're emotionally close as well. And now the river and the bay, as I mentioned, are coming back, and the shad and the sturgeon are coming back, and even the rockfish are coming back, and they're coming back because of your commitment to clean up the water. And joining with your neighbor states in the National Estuary Program is the next step. You know, yesterday I was in Boston, and what a contrast. In the Boston Aquarium, this would be hard for you all to believe here in Delaware. In the Boston Aquarium, they have a sewage meter to measure the pollution flowing into what the exhibit calls the dirtiest harbor in America. And my opponent hasn't shown the commitment to the environment that you have shown here in Delaware. Far from it. It was so bad that the EPA had to go to federal court to get a cleanup schedule. Water treatment plants that would have cost $1 billion in his first term when the clean water requirements went into effect will now cost $6 billion. And the EPA regional administrator calls it the most expensive public policy mistake in Massachusetts history. Many of you go to the Jersey Shore to enjoy the beaches when you can't get on them down here. And my opponent went there to campaign, to advertise his opposition to ocean dumping. What he didn't tell them is this. His administration, 3 years ago, applied for a permit to dump Massachusetts sewage sludge off the New Jersey coast. Now, how do you like that for a national environmental policy? Now, the stealth candidate, he was at it again, making lofty promises but hiding from his own record. And did we have fun up in Boston Harbor yesterday? It was terrific. As for me, I consider myself a Teddy Roosevelt Republican. He once said that nothing short of defending his country in wartime compares in importance with the great central task of leaving this land, even a better land, for our descendants than it is for us. And if we want the young people here today to experience the joys and the natural beauty that we've known, we must make sure that the earth can restore what we take. And in New Orleans, in that speech I gave, I did talk about a kindler and a gentler nation. And this is part of what I mean. A nation in which all of us treat the environment with greater reverence and greater respect. And when mothers must worry about their children stepping on needles, when fish show up with frightening tumors, when families can't go to the beach, it's time for concerted action. And I am going to stop, when elected president, I am going to stop ocean dumping. Our beaches should not be garbage dumps, and our harbors should not be cesspools. I'm going to have the FBI trace those medical wastes, and we're going to punish the people who dump those infected needles into our oceans and our lakes and our rivers across this great country. And we've got a great administrator now, but I'm going to continue to appoint the finest, most qualified individuals in the country to serve in my EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and they're going to have my full support, and they're going to have my ear, and they'll have my confidence, and they'll have my mandate. Go after the polluters. We can do it. The environmental problems are not too big. My response to those that say they're too big to solve, it can be done. And the bottom line is, we must do it. As America moves into the 90s, the environmental challenge is but one of many that we face. We've got to sustain and broaden our record prosperity. We've got to reduce the federal deficit by cutting spending and not by raising the taxes on the working man and woman in this country. When I went to Poland and we met with Lech Walesa as your agent, I might say, and then when we went downtown to Warsaw, and Barbara put her arm around the mother of the fallen priest, Father Popayuszko, who had been taken out and killed by the Polish secret police. When we went to Poland and showed the concern of the American people for those that are standing for freedom and fighting for their faith in Poland, I saw very clearly, and the thousands of the Polish people that appeared in front of St. Stanislaus Church, that the faith in America, even in a communist country like that, is still alive. I saw that they feel it is only the United States of America, only the United States, that cares enough about freedom, that is committed to one nation under God, that does care when somebody else has been denied their freedom. I want to be president because I want to enhance the peace, and I want to stand up for freedom and democracy around the world. It's one thing to give peace a chance, but America cannot afford a president who would take a chance with peace. I will not turn our sovereign affairs over to the United Nations or any other international organization. We must continue to lead. We must continue to show the way. It is only the United States that can offer freedom and hope for democracy around the world. We gambled one time. American people already gambled on a moderate-sounding liberal governor making vague promises. And my friends, we cannot gamble on America's future. We can't make that mistake a second time. Now, we've serving with a great president, a man for whom I have great respect. We've spent the last 8 years making up lost ground. We've strengthened the peace. We've enhanced the prosperity. And we are not going to let them take it away from us. I'm delighted to be here today. I'm sorry that Barbara's not here. I believe in terms of enhancing the economic prosperity, I'm the person to do that job in the White House. I believe in terms of a knowledge of and experience in foreign affairs and a commitment to our continued leadership, and at the same time a commitment to banning chemical weapons and through strength negotiating further reductions in our arms. I'm the man to get that job done too. But then there's a third ingredient, and that's where do you get your strength? What motivates you? Barbara and I have always held our family very close in. It's been a little bit of a private oasis. And we watched my opponent in the campaign down there in their convention in Georgia. And I thought they did a good job on the family side of things as he saluted his mother who'd come here from Greece, and his son did a nice job on the television. His daughters were there, and I really thought it was a fitting tribute to obviously where he gets his strength. And I said to Barbara, look, we're going to have to lighten up a little. We're going to have to show the American people where we get our strength from. And so you saw our convention. You saw my wife of 43 years. You saw our 5 kids all over the screen. You saw their happily married spouses. And you saw our 10 grandchildren. They were crawling all over me. I wish you hadn't seen quite so much of them on the screen there. But this is where we get our strength. And 44 years ago today, I was a 20-year-old pilot flying in the Pacific. 44 years ago today, I was shot down by the Japanese over the island of Chichijima. I was scared to death. I was floating around in a little rubber life raft, hoping a submarine would come on and rescue me, which it did. But I'll tell you something. The values, what sustains you when you're in a situation like that? It's the same thing that sustains you now, each one of you. It was family, and it was faith. And so I will take our campaign on peace and prosperity and on freedom, arms control, peace across this country. But I got to share with you what's going to sustain me in the most important 70 days of my life as we go down to the wire as one of 2 people that'll be President of the United States of America. What will sustain me is what's sustained Americans for years and years. It is our family, and it is our faith in God, and we never should forget it. Thank you all, and God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Good effort. Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. We go down and say hello? I think we're going to say a little.